I never thought betrayal could feel so sharp. Until I discovered that my own mother and sister had drained my daughter's $85,000 college fund. And when I realized what they'd done, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront them in person. I just typed one single email. And 6 weeks later, they went from sitting at our family dinner table to being federal prisoners. And I smiled the entire time. If you've ever been underestimated by someone you trusted, or felt the raw sting of betrayal, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and brace yourself for a story where justice isn't messy or reckless, it's calculated, poetic, and utterly satisfying. Trust me, you'll want to see how this one unfolds. I should back up. My daughter Emma had always been the center of my world. Smart, ambitious, kind-hearted, the kind of kid who'd make anyone proud. Years ago, I opened a college fund for her, pouring in every extra dollar I could spare. By the time she was a junior in high school, it had grown to $85,000, enough to cover tuition, books, and even a little cushion for emergencies. I thought my mother and sister would be supportive, they were family, after all. But over time, small inconsistencies started to gnaw at me. Statements that didn't make sense. Withdrawals that weren't authorized. I chalked it up to banking errors at first, convincing myself I was overreacting. But my gut was screaming something was wrong. Then one night, I stayed up late, meticulously going through every transaction. My heart dropped when I saw it. Multiple withdrawals over several months. And at the other end, my mother's name, and my sister's. Not some faceless scammer, not a bank mistake. My own blood. I remember feeling my stomach twist, my hands trembling as I scrolled through the numbers. $15,000 here, $20,000 there, 85. Oh, gone. My mind raced. But oddly, I didn't cry. I didn't shout. My body was tight with controlled fury. I paced the living room, imagining confronting them. But something in me knew, if I reacted impulsively, they'd just weasel out. I needed leverage. I needed strategy. I watched them over the next few days, noting how comfortable they were, acting like nothing had happened. Dinner conversations, casual laughs, everything staged. My mother, always charming, even threw in a fake concern about Emma's tuition. My sister, smug and self-assured, casually bragged about helping with expenses. I wanted to scream, but instead, I let the anger simmer, sharpening it like a blade. I knew they underestimated me. Always had. My mother always treated me like a naive child who didn't understand finances. My sister, well, she thought I was weak, slow to act, too sentimental to fight back. That underestimation would be their downfall. I spent the next week researching tax law, fraud, college fund protections. I learned how the IRS handled embezzlement, how financial audits worked, how family members could be held criminally accountable for misappropriating funds. My pulse would quicken every time I found another loophole, another statute I could leverage. Finally, I drafted an email. Clear, concise, factual, no emotion, no accusations, just the cold, hard truth. I attached documentation, bank statements, transfer records, even screenshots of their online accounts showing unauthorized withdrawals. Every figure, every date meticulously detailed. I sent it to the IRS. Then came the waiting. It was agonizing. Every day, I thought about what might happen. Would they realize? Would they cover their tracks? But as the days stretched into a week, the first domino fell. An IRS agent called, confirming receipt of the complaint, asking for clarification. I provided every detail they needed calmly, like a professional. No hysteria, just facts. And then, the ripple effect began. My mother called me first, a forced, sugary voice. Sweetie, did something happen? Is everything okay with Emma's fund? I just smiled politely. I've been in touch with the IRS, Mom. They're reviewing everything. Her voice faltered slightly. I could hear the first crack in her confident thought. A few days later, the first letters arrived at their home. Subpoenas, notices of investigation, demands for documentation. Panic replaced their casual demeanor. My sister called, her tone clipped, brittle. Why are they asking for everything? I didn't answer. I let the tension hang. I imagined every lie they'd ever told, every rationalization they'd used, now twisting against them. Week 2. They were frantic, consulting lawyers, begging for meetings, trying to figure out how to spin this. Every plan they devised failed. Every fabricated excuse was shredded by the hard facts I had compiled. Week 3. The IRS wasn't messing around. Audits were scheduled, federal investigators were involved, and the evidence trail was airtight. I could almost hear their frantic whispers as their world unraveled. Week 4. Their social circle noticed a change. My mother, always poised and proud, was now pale and evasive. My sister, once arrogant, had lost her spark. Friends asked what was wrong, but both brushed it off, too ashamed to admit their crimes. Week 5. Indictments were filed. Federal charges. My mother and sister were officially accused of embezzling from my daughter's college fund. The documents detailed every single withdrawal, every deception, every lie. And week 6, the final act came with the arrest. Agents in suits knocked on their door. Handcuffs, questions, the kind of humiliation that no one outside the family could truly imagine. I watched it happen, not from a window, not hiding behind curtains. I was across town, sipping my coffee, a quiet smile on my lips, not gloating, not angry, just satisfied. The injustice had been corrected. The betrayal had met its match. It's hard to describe that feeling. The relief, the vindication, the calm satisfaction that comes from knowing you've outsmarted someone who believed they were smarter than you. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply exhaled. Later, I sat down with Emma and explained, in age-appropriate terms, what had happened. I told her that some people, even family, make choices that hurt those they love. But I also told her that justice, when handled with precision and care, can be delivered without chaos. That some battles aren't won with anger or shouting, but with patience, planning, and courage. Emma's eyes were wide, absorbing every detail. Mom, you did that all by yourself? I nodded. I didn't do it to punish anyone for fun. I did it to protect you, to make sure you had what was rightfully yours. She hugged me tightly, and in that moment, I realized something profound. Revenge, when earned and justified, is not about cruelty. It's about restoring balance, about claiming peace when others try to rob you of it. The lesson? Trust carefully. Always keep a vigilant eye on what matters most, and never underestimate yourself. Most people assume that family or anyone close to you will act honorably, but some people will let greed overshadow love. And in those moments, your power isn't in confrontation, it's in strategy, in knowledge, in control. In the end, my mother and sister are paying their dues. Emma's fund is intact. And I learned that justice doesn't always require anger, it requires clarity, patience, and the courage to act when others think you won't. Betrayal may be painful, but wisdom transforms pain into power. If this story gave you chills or reminded you that sometimes patience and strategy can be the most powerful tools, hit that like button. Comment below. What's the most satisfying act of justice you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe, because there are more stories coming where cunning triumphs over betrayal, and justice is served in the most unexpected ways.